Well, good afternoon from 11,000 feet. We are en route to St. Paul today, and all morning I've been watching this weather system, and it's been this big blob around the entire route of flight. Luckily, though, towards the end of the day here, it's kind of moved off towards the east just a little bit, but there's still that kind of blip hanging on, so I filed us direct to the Alexandria VOR waypoint, AXN. And then if we go to the flight plan here, you'll see from AXN it takes us into St. Paul. So we're a little over an hour away. Now, as we come into this weather here, this has been pretty severe all day. So we'll see, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but you can definitely see the hole off to the right. I don't know why it's not focusing there, sorry. My windshield must be dirty. Try and get it there for you. There we go. So you can see to the right just a little bit, you can see that hole. And then starting across right in here is where the radar starts to show some of that significant returns. And then it obviously gets into the red. So as we approach this weather, I'm keeping an eye on this cloud deck directly in front of us. And it's kind of, oops, yeah, right there. So we're going to take a look at those clouds as we get closer and see where they are, what their altitude is, and if we can get above them or if we need to turn to the right. Certainly we don't want to like squeeze in too tight between layers, but if we can safely get between those layers there, it's probably our best bet. And then coming back in here to the radar, it does look like we'll need to ask for, we'll call it, we just say request deviations to the right, and we'll kind of go around the right side of Alexandria. We also are keeping an eye on St. Paul. Right now the weather looks pretty good, but if the airspace is backed up a little bit from those storms, we did have plenty of extra gas, so if we have to hold just a little bit, that's fine. Almost looks like there's a bug there. Anyway, we'll update you as we get closer to, right, a little update here. We are getting close to that weather. You can see it's definitely not pleasant to the left at all. Looks like we should be over this weather just ahead of us, and I think I mentioned in the last video clip, but I did ask for 15,000, so we climbed up to 15,000 feet. And you can see we're just getting to the edge of this weather here. And Center did call us just to make sure that we were aware that there's weather there and ask if we needed any deviations. And I did tell them that we'd probably want to continue on this current heading just a little past Alexandria. So my plan is to fly past Alexandria here. We'll kind of keep an eye on this to see if we're over that. I'm not quite sure we're going to be over the top of that band in the distance. You can kind of see there jutting up from the clouds. If it's only like 1,000 feet above us, certainly we can ask for higher. Otherwise, my plan is just to deviate a little bit to the right to get around that hook in the radar there. But overall, it's really, you know, always nice to be outside the clouds or on top of the clouds. Generally, you're going to get a smoother flight when you're on top, although that's not guaranteed, and I'm sure you can see by my hand here, as we approach this layer, there's definitely a lot of energy in this system, and so it's pretty hard to have a smooth flight. So far, it's not bad. We're just getting some light, what we would call chop. But as we approach the more substantial weather, you're definitely going to feel the airflow. Now, if I had passengers, today it's just me, but if I had passengers, I would probably consider turning to the right there, where it's a lot, you know, there's very, very little cloud activity, and just go a little bit further around. But it's just me, so I don't mind a little bit of chop. If it gets, you know, anything uncomfortable, I'll just turn to the right. That's another thing that a lot of pilots look for is, you know, having this out, we would call it an out. And, you know, a lot of industries or activities have an out, but all this blue sky to the right, that just, you know, it makes me comfortable, like, hey, if I have a problem, if I don't like the weather, if it's too rough, you know, we can just turn to the right and we'll be out of any turbulence very quickly. So anyway, we have an out, we've got clear skies, so we'll just keep an eye on it, we'll keep safe, and we'll update you here as we get closer to that line of weather. All right, so you can kind of see the weather out there. We passed all that. That stuff out in the distance was angry. And we're just coming around to the edge of the buildups here. And Minneapolis, we deviated quite a bit to the right. Minneapolis just asked me to let them know before I turn back towards St. Paul. And we'll descend on down. So I'll tell them right now, and you can listen in. And Minneapolis 902 Bravo Alpha. We're just coming around the edge of that weather, and we can turn or descend now.
Number 902 Bravo Alpha, thank you. Descend and maintain 5,000. I'll call the turn direct St. Paul.
Okay, we'll start down to 5,000. We'll wait for your call, 902BA. All right, so we're going to set the friendly reminder. I'm going to work the autopilot here. Start pitching down.
203 Minneapolis Center, Roger, climb, maintain for level 230.
All right. And because we're going to be going into some turbulence, I definitely don't want to be going too fast, so I'm just going to bring back a little bit of power as we descend. All right. So anyway, we're going to start our descent into Minneapolis. Since I'm single pilot, I don't have anybody else to video. So this may be the last time, we'll see. But there's the bad weather, and we'll talk to you hopefully a little later. Always nice to get underneath the layer. It was quite rough as we descended through that layer. Smashed my head on the ceiling. It's always a fun one. You can see way out there, that is that nasty, nasty stuff. Anyway, we should be down in St. Paul in looks like about 15 minutes, but it's always a good feeling to get past the weather and get underneath the clouds and get into Minneapolis before the weather hits. Anyway, hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about navigating around a pretty substantial weather system, and we'll talk to you on another video.